kids in Georgia have been doing is collecting recycled materials and using them to print things with. So they've been using things like old Coke bottles and water bottles and dipping them in paint and using the little bottom bits to create patterns on fabric. Like a sun, like flowers, like series of dots. So yeah, those sorts of things. So they've been collecting things. So that's something I want you to think a little bit about while we go through. I've got some questions that we'll need to go through when we're thinking about making these motifs in a smaller group. But because I didn't bring those images, I brought some of my own recycled printing works. This is what I've been working on for the last few years, is taking prints and making works out of found objects. So my favourite thing to use in the last few years has been this, what do you think it is?
It's for use that in coffee, don't you?
Right. Yeah, milk frother. The plunger. Yeah, I use it for coffee, but you can get them for tea as well. In fact, I should try one of the tea ones because they're slightly different. And what I'm using this as is this kind of thing. This is much more beautiful. What do you think it might be? Wax. Right. So that one's quite old, that would be very different. So those chucks are the things that they use to make the repeating patterns like these ones that Mr. Wardle has also brought in. Can you see how it might be done?
Do you heat this up?
How do they get them exactly?
They do have to stay quite hot, yeah. So you heat them up, well I heat mine up in the wax. So I leave it sitting in the wax while the wax is heating up as well. In Indonesia they usually use like a little gas stove, like you might use when you're camping to heat up your water.
Do you want to pass that along? Have you seen this one?
Who's got a long thin one?
Kaylin at the moment.
Kaylin, oh yeah, so can you see where that one, actually that one is that pattern that I was showing you guys last week that I had on the fabric. Can you see that? So that's probably from Jogjakarta, that pattern, I think, because that's a Jogjakarta pattern. So you can see a running pattern along here, along the edges, which has probably been made with a chuck. And then this one in the middle, which is a picture of a wayang puppet, was probably made with what is called chanting. So this is chanting. C-H-A-N-T-I-N-G, because how do we say C in Indonesian?
Very good answer of Tom's. When we have a P at the end of a word, that also is unaspirated, so we don't say chuck. It's chuck. And as we said in Indonesian, C pronounced ch, chanting.
These are kind of some of the ordinary everyday things you might find around Goulburn or Mulwari or school or at home that you might be able to use to make patterns. So these are drains that were in the base of an old electricity plant in Sydney, where I did a residency for a little while. These are actually drawings that I've used and turned into digital files. That's something we might be able to work with next time. I'm not sure if that'll work this time. These ones are old objects I collected from my grandfather-in-law's farm. So there's a front of a truck and a very old truck and a doormat. So this is called frottage. This is another great way to make patterns because you can bring in an object and rub over the top of it like you do with a coin or a leaf. You might have done that in primary school.
Wow, that was good.
And these are more kinds of frottage with just domestic items from the kitchen. So the place that I've been representing in my work for the last few years has been the place where I've been spending lots of time, which is at home, being at home with my kids, who are very little. And so that's where I got all my materials from. That's the place that I was thinking about all the time. So when you're thinking about a place to represent, it might be home or it might be somewhere you spend a lot of time, might be somewhere you don't spend a lot of time but you feel very passionately about. But it's also going to have to be somewhere where you have a consensus within your group to represent.
We play soccer ball, football, cricket ball,
Well,
basketball.
you are a sporty town, but you need to talk about to the people in your group.
Yeah,
Because it's you guys who have to agree and
What
decide,
do you
not me.
do? You do dancing, don't you?
You do like
We could do
dancing
like,
shoes.
yeah, dancing shoes. Netball, basketball, footy, soccer, hockey.
So the aspect that you want to represent is the physical aspect of Goulburn and the way people engage physically here. Okay, well what if you popped in the middle there physical activity as your place? Physical activity in Goulburn?
Yeah. Now I can see why.
You're off to a great start. That's just sort of like expressionistic painting where the purpose is a bit ambiguous or subjective. Although motifs are subjective, what you guys need to work out on, especially because you're collaborating, is you really need to tie it down to a place or a thing or an idea that you want to represent. So, you could be Goulburn.
Yep.
Is that what you've decided? Do you all agree?
That'll be the easiest.
Yeah. Okay. Goulburn. Sorry, what about school? There's more things to do. Yeah, fair enough.
Goulburn.
Well, she'll see things differently to the way you guys do. She might have noticed things about this place that you would walk past every day. Maybe. No pressure. Sorry. Okay, well, right Goulburn in the middle. Well, I went to see the sheep last week when I left here because I'd heard on the radio that it was wearing a scarf, and it was.
Goulburn?
To the
Goulburn is not warm.
Weather.
Right.
Even in summer, in New Zealand it's cold.
Are you riding broken tractor?
Yeah.
Broken power.
Power lines. Interesting. Story about the public
No.
Yeah,
Part of the thing about working collaboratively is that you each have to play to your own strengths, like in a sports team. So you don't put the fast guys down as well. Actually, I don't know. But
You put the shit out as a cricket.
everyone has a spot that has to do with what their skills are, don't they?
Yeah.
The fast guys have a job to do. The big guys have a job to do. That would apply for if you wanted to do the Remembrance Library, or if you wanted to do the Ag School, or if you wanted to do the school library. Whatever you want to do, the next step would be to try and find some time to gather inspiration. What else have you got? Come on, ideas, man. Brendan?
Brandon, I've already thought Jackson.
Great education. Me and Ben are discussing it earlier.
Education? Well, it's a school, isn't it? Education.
We're on different levels.
Jack,
Very different.
I'm not good at thinking. Stuff just
Didn't you
happens.
just say
Can't do
education?
any brains in that one.
No, that was
That's me.
That was someone
You
else.
again. Sorry, Brendan.
Brendan's probably the best
You'll
one
have
thinking.
something. I'm sure you actually do, because you came up with this fantastic motif for your badge.
I saw it.
It's actually it's really neat, concise expression of something. It's great. You're all going to have something to do. All right, keep going.
That was a bit blunt. Karma Bagley.
And this is the motif that you've got on your jumper too, so it's probably not the kind that I have in mind for this project.
Yes, they're
but
boomerangs.
Boomerangs, yep. So it's tying in sort of Indigenous history with the settler history there on your two things. So that's an interesting approach that they've taken with your school motif. It's quite interesting because that's a part of something that's happening in lots of places in Australia, lots of regional places, that there's a drain of services.
Trying to make it adult friendly.
How about I show them to me? Well, it'd be interesting to talk to the adults and see what they think about whether there's as many services and things to do as they
There's more things for them than us.
There's more churches in Goulburn than there is shops. Honestly, every street has a church on it.
Oh, that's an interesting
Every
thing.
secretary has a pub on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a hairdresser.
Churches and pubs.
About.
Yeah, and hairdressers.
Oh, time's up. You guys have done a really great job.